I'm hitting go live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today we've got what we call our college football checkup. What we're going to do is every couple weeks we're going to talk about what's been happening in college football and give you the players we've seen, what's caught our attention, stuff like that. So first things first, I'm going to just scroll through week one. Matt's going to give his input, and then we're going to keep going from there, all right? So week one, that started on the weekend of Saturday, August 23rd. And, man, it was a fun week one, in my opinion. So one of the very first games, Iowa State technically upset Kansas State. We had South Florida upset Boise State. Obviously, there was the big Ohio State Texas, and I don't know if that you would call it necessarily an upset, but it was a big win for Ohio State. Same thing, LSU, the big win over Clemson. Probably the biggest upset, in my opinion, was Florida State over Alabama. That one was a pretty surprising one. Let's see here.
AWF is making sure his opinions on LSU are known.
And then let's see, Miami beat Notre Dame. And then that was really it for week one in terms of actual big games and upsets. Matt, what do you got to say about those games? What caught your attention?
So, I post my rankings on my individual profile, and heading into week one, I had Alabama as I think maybe the number 2 team in the country.
Okay.
So believe me when I say FSU, and I thought FSU was going to play well, but FSU didn't just win. They didn't just, have a nail biter. They just spanked Alabama. And I said in another video, or I might say in a future video, I've been on record. I'm not like a fire people kind of guy, but Alabama losing and that upset was way more shocking than any other upset. And what made it even more shocking was there was no effort. There was no pursuit.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people standing, a lot of people just kind of looking. It was kind of tough to watch. And so in terms of week one, I thought LSU Clemson was just a wonderful game. I wish Texas Ohio State was as, like, the knocks on Arch are not unwarranted, but all the media kind of turned it into a what's wrong with Arch thing, when what we really saw was an amazing defensive performance, and that was kind of a letdown from my point of view. So those are just some thoughts from week one on my end.
All right, then getting into week two. Week two is a little less exciting in terms of the actual games going on. There wasn't as many exciting matchups, but we definitely had an upset with Mississippi State taking down Arizona State. And then South Florida taking out Florida was also a pretty big upset. That was unranked versus number 13 and unranked versus number 12. Florida State, they blew out East Texas A&M, so maybe they are better than everybody thinks they are. This one wasn't necessarily a massive upset, but it was a big win. Was Oklahoma beating Michigan. And then Baylor, unranked Baylor, took down number 17 SMU. And I think that's really about it. Let's double check. Yeah, that was it for me. Of those, I think probably one of the ones that caught my attention the most was Baylor taking down SMU. I thought that Sawyer Robertson looked better this game than he had in the first game of the season. and he's a quarterback that I'm interested in going forward. So, any thoughts from you?
So I think so. Sawyer Robinson had a lot of chat, like a lot of high heat generating, and I think his performance in that SMU game has turned fans on to something. At the very least, some of the content creator scouts have already been talking about, and at least a few NFL scouts are kind of wary of. But I I want to pose a thought to you and see where you're at, because we kind of touched on it while we were chatting in our normal lives. But I'm not I'm not necessarily down on this QB class. I'm not really. But do you agree that the headline names for this draft class have been, at the very least, underwhelming?
Yes. I think we've talked about the fact that it's always everybody says, don't worry, next year's class is better. Um, but yeah, this class is, it's 2 weeks in, but there's a lot to be left on the bone there because it has not looked that good from a lot of the guys. And as someone, as two people that are looking to find our quarterback in the shadow draft, that can be a little concerning because we need to have at least three guys that we think are studs in order for us to feel comfortable knowing that we're going to get one of those guys. So I'm a little concerned right now. I'm hopeful, but slightly concerned. But all right, so that's really all we got on the games that have been going on. But what we're gonna get into now is we're gonna get into a little bit more of the details of players that we saw. I looked at some specific games. Matt looked at specific games. So first things first, we're going to talk about the players that we thought flashed in the games that we looked at. So in week one, I looked at the Bearcats versus Nebraska game. And in that game, a wide receiver I'm interested in named Dane Key looked all right. He didn't look great, but he looked solid. He had 6 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Had some decent separation, but it wasn't necessarily the greatest game. Now, this is a guy that's not going to be in 2026, probably going to be all the way back to 2028. But the linebacker named Vincent Shavers from Nebraska looked really good in coverage. So he's going to be a guy that I put on my list to watch way down the line. Now, if you watched my player update video from last week, you already heard me talk about Dante Corleone. He was an absolute force in the run game. He also got a little bit of pressure. He was looking like he might be a little bit more back towards his first couple years in college. And if that's the case, that's really exciting. And then a linebacker that if you weren't a Cincinnati fan, you probably didn't know a lot about. But Jake Golday was all over the field. He had a sack, a pressure, lots of tackles. He's not necessarily the coverage guy, but that classic middle linebacker, hit you in the nose type guy. He looked really good.
Yeah, I just want to say on that note, I have Goladay as my number 5 performer after 2 weeks in terms of linebackers.
Yeah, and then another linebacker for Cincinnati, Jonathan Thompson. He's a 3-year linebacker, was really good in pretty much every facet. He's pretty level across the field in terms of how he graded out. He had a sack and 2 pressures as well from the linebacker position. I didn't notice a ton of people from Nebraska, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I thought those are the guys that flashed. And then, all right, let me get into Auburn and Baylor. Auburn versus Baylor was a game I was really, really excited about. There's lots of really, really good players that I'm interested in that game. The guys that flashed to me, Devin Bobby, the safety from Baylor, he kept showing exactly what I saw him over summer scouting, guy hits hard. I thought he had an overall pretty solid game. Keldrick Falk, the edge, definitely showed why he's being talked about as a first. He had 4 total pressures and a sack. He was disruptive. He was in every play. So he's definitely one of those guys that flashed on the field. The Auburn quarterback, Arnold, was elite as a running back. But unfortunately, any pressure made him look unequipped to be a quarterback. So that I guess that's someone that flashed and disappointed. The Auburn O line, led by the center Connor Lew, he didn't allow a pressure, and he definitely looks like an NFL center. And then probably my favorite guy that flashed. If you have ever watched the Draft Professor, the NFL Draft Fanatic, they have a regular podcast that goes on. And I went on there and talked about Baylor and TCU. And one of the guys that I brought up was Cole. And on my notes, I have Cole freaking Wilson. He was a transfer from Texas State. And man, did he impress. He had 134 yards in the first week, was unguardable. He showed strong hands with a couple contested catches, which he's a small guy. So that's not something that you would necessarily expect there. He honestly reminds me of Deshaun Jackson on the field, just a super shifty guy that can, run a lot of routes and is so quick. So he's someone that his size is going to be scary for the NFL. Like you said, he's very small. I think he's 5'8". So that's going to be an interesting thing to see what develops with him. But he was so much fun to watch. Anything that caught your eye there, Matt?
So I'm not as high on Connor Lew as the rest of the world. To be fair, I haven't watched a whole lot of Auburn, and I kind of have my heart set on another center. But it's good to hear another perspective on what they're seeing. I'll mention the data. At least the data I focus on is not as big a fan of Connor Lew as maybe the film is saying. And I just kind of wanted you to dive in on that a little bit more. Are you seeing more, or because you mentioned looking at pressures, which is not a stat I look at before, very often, especially when the run block pass block combo isn't right where I want it anyway. I don't dig deeper. So it's encouraging to hear he only allowed 1 pressure.
Yeah, I think he looks stronger in the pass game than he does in the run game, which is probably why it might not be as strong in your formula. But in a pass heavy NFL as things stand right now, I think he'll be someone that is coveted in the league.
Yep. So that actually, and I just for a little bit, there's something I want to touch on there. You're a Bengals fan. I'm a Niners fan. I value running, pulling. I'm very demanding on any lineman. But if you're talking about a pass center, a drop back guy, then that would explain the dynamic. And
Yeah.
sometimes I just want to dig in a little bit, because when 2 people disagree, it's not necessarily a right-wrong question, but a what are you looking for out of a player question. And to be fair to these young talents we're talking about, sometimes expanding on why the differences are there, then someone can look at it with a better viewpoint toward what they like in a player or what they're looking for their teams.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to Colorado and Georgia Tech. This is a game that I was excited for because there's some good players in here. So the quarterback from Colorado, Caden Salter, he showed some flashes, but he definitely held onto the ball too long and ran too much. And it sounds like he has potentially lost that job, or at least is going to lose it for a little bit, based off of his week 2 performance. So, still some things that need to be improved upon there. From the other side of the field, from the quarterback position, Haynes King is honestly just fun to watch. He's maybe not the world's greatest passer, but he's definitely a grinder out on the field. And I think him to Eric Rivers is going to be a fun combination. Eric Rivers, had a decent game, but again, they're a run first offense. But it's definitely going to be a fun thing to see. I'll be interested to see where things fall for Eric Rivers because of his usage. Because I don't know that he's going to be able to show off what he can do. So he's a guy that I feel like could be considered a day 3 guy when the draft process really gets going. But then potentially when we get to like the combine and teams get to meet with him, he could potentially shoot up. Now, they have some wonderful running backs in Hosley and Haynes. And I really liked watching both of them. I think there's a good chance both of those guys play on Sundays. Like I said, Haynes King didn't air it out a lot, but he is effective and handles pressure well. And his legs are definitely an exciting tool that he has. I think he's going to end up being a wonderful backup in the NFL. I don't think he's ever going to be like a top end starter in the NFL. But I could be wrong because JJ McCarthy was a run first type quarterback in college, and he's had a pretty solid first start. So on the defensive side of things, for Colorado, DJ McKinney and Jaheim Otis. Jaheim Otis is a transfer, I believe, from Alabama. Definitely showed why people were talking about them. Otis is a space eater on the defensive front. And then McKinley has some very tight coverage on the on wide receivers. So, and then on Georgia Tech's side of the ball for defense, there is a linebacker they have named Kyle Efford. I'm not saying that he is the best linebacker in the world, but he is a very, very sure tackler, and he's got this ridiculous neck roll thing going that when I see him, that's my childhood middle linebacker.
Mike
That's
Cox.
yes. I love watching him on the field just because of that like linebacker aura he's got. So yeah, I think that's just someone that I had to bring up at least because I couldn't stop watching him every time he played just because of that. So all right, getting into TCU versus North Carolina, unless you had anything on that.
So, in my opinion, the reason Caden Salter got benched, or at least isn't the starter, is I remember tweeting in this game because I like what Prime's doing in Colorado. There are a lot of things that I'm enamored by, but I wanted to pull my hair out so many times. The special throws are there, but then the layups were just not getting hit. There were at least 2 game-winning touchdowns that just were whiffed on. And a trend that we spoke about off the air, I don't know if I don't know if my television can handle one more quarterback running out of bounds for a negative 4-yard loss when he could just chuck it 3 feet. I don't know what coaches are doing. And my theory is people talk about accuracy, so they're protecting their accuracy, but they're taking 4 or 5 yard losses because they don't want to have an incompletion. Yeah. And I'm like, someone tell these people that there's this thing called the adjusted completion percentage. And you should not take a sack to avoid an incomplete pass. You should not do that. It should be the other way around. Yeah, but absolutely. It's not just a Colorado thing. I've seen it like so many times, and then I'm seeing young people do it in the NFL, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah. All right. So TCU versus North Carolina. Who I had this one marked down because it was the anticipated debut of Coach Bill Belichick in college. And man, did North Carolina look like they just grabbed 73 guys and said, "Hey, let's go play." Uh, they are not an organized team yet. That was a disaster. They looked a little bit better this week, but yeah, that was an embarrassing start for them. Uh, but the the stars of the game, TCU, Josh Hoover is a guy who I really personally like, and I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NCAA. I feel like he's got a lot to. I feel like he's working with a lot from the neck up. He processes pretty well. He makes the right decisions. He may not have the biggest arm, but he's definitely got more than enough arm. So I'm not convinced he's going to come out this year, but he's definitely a guy that I think can start in the league, and is someone that I think eventually we're going to see a lot more people talking about. Um, One of the guys that helped him look so good this week was a guy named I think it's Jordan Dwyer. Um, he was a transfer in from Idaho. I had talked about him in that TCU versus TCU and Baylor episode for the Draft Fanatic um, as a guy to look out for, and he was lights out. He made so many great catches. He was wide open all the time, and he is making himself a lot of money. I know it's only the second week of the season, but he looked really, really strong. He looked like a guy that could go and be a star in the NFL. Um, Another guy, TCU, Bud Clark. Bud Clark it feels like he's been in college forever, which is not actually true. I think he's in year 5, but he got his name when he faced Michigan in the college football playoff a few years ago, and he had that big pick six against them. Um, but he is exactly that same player. He's such a ball hawk. When the ball is in the air, he's going to find it. He makes plays on the ball. He tackles hard. I think he is a very, very um, surefire pick at safety. He's probably going to go round 3 or 4. I don't think he's going to go, top of the draft, but I think he's going to go round 3 or 4 and go be that just roaming ball hawk type safety for a team. Um, but yeah, anything else there for you?
So I want to second what you said about Bud Clark. I have him as my number 3 standout safety. And just to give you some data, what I'm looking at right now, he got an 84.55 coverage grade, a 91.5 man coverage grade, which is really important to me, and a 0 missed tackle rate. So the guy can lock down receivers and make the tackles, and those are numbers that I value. So he is going to be high on my board. And I think any team that gets him is going to be happy with his performances.
All right. Yeah. All right. So the next game that I had here was, I called it the Bias Bowl, which is Cincinnati, which you can see which way, this way, behind me, which is my wife's alma mater, and a team I grew up rooting for, versus Bowling Green State University, which is my alma mater. And the main reason that I focus on this is, well, there's a lot of Bearcats players that I was interested in, but I also just wanted to cover the two teams that I grew up rooting for. Um, Now, this was week 2, so I'm into some week 2 games now. The Bearcats offense looked a little bit better. In week 1, they were not great at all, but they looked better, and that's mainly because the O-line played a little better. They were way better in run blocking, pass blocking as a whole. It looked like they had gelled a little bit. It could be the fact that the BGSU defensive line isn't necessarily world beaters or anything, but that was a positive thing for me. This game to me was all about linebackers. Um, Bowling Green has a really great linebacker duo between Gideon Espen Lamprin, and that's spelled ESPN, who's a player that has gotten some hype because of that name, but he's also really, really strong on the field. He is all around the ball. He gets pressure. He makes sacks. So he's a really strong linebacker. And then his partner in crime is Dorian Pringle, who, again, that same type of stud. They're both really highly graded. I'm very certain that both of them can play on Sundays, assuming that they can show teams that they can do that special team role as well. And then I had talked about in the first Bearcats game about some of their linebackers as well. And Golday, again, flashed in this game. Looked like he is that day two guy. I really honestly think Golday, probably before the season started, I doubt anybody even had him anywhere close to a day two pick, but I think he could get himself there. Dante Corleone only played 10 snaps. He did look very good in those 10 snaps, and then he left as a precaution. They didn't really say what the precaution was, but that was really that game. Anything from you on that, Matt?
So I've already mentioned kind of I'm also high on Golday. I'm stalling for time because I'm trying to see where. How do you spell his name? Do you know it off the top of your head?
Who, Lamprin?
No, Golday.
Oh, Golday, Golday.
So as of this, am I in the right year? I'm not. That's why. All right. I was like, so Golday right now is consensus ranked. Here's the irony in it. Golday is literally consensus ranked 10 spots below Austin Romaine. So I think I mentioned it last time we chatted. We spend a lot of time talking about guys, and then we look at him like we were on Quinyon Mitchell way before anybody else jumped on our bandwagon. And Lamprin is currently in the top 100 for linebackers, but he has only one grade below 70. It's a 68.5, and every other grade is 70 or better, which is a starting grade. So these linebackers we're talking about, and I just recently did a study. Those UDFA linebackers, they have opportunities to start. There are a lot of starting linebackers who began as UDFA guys, but I don't think either of these guys stay this low on the consensus board.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I'm going to get into the last game that I really focused on. And then I think, Matt, instead of going into my other players, we'll let you talk about your games, and then we'll go into all of our other players that flash between the two of us.
Sure.
So the last game that I focused on was Michigan versus Oklahoma. I am not a fan of Michigan, so it was kind of fun to hate watch this game. But the first thing that I wrote down is John Mateer is as advertised. In my opinion, he is locked into the first round. And Matt, I'll let you talk about that a little bit too, because I know that you wrote that. But he is a guy that he looks so strong. He's got the legs, he's got the passing skills. And he was lighting up Michigan. Both defenses, honestly, were suspect, but Underwood for Michigan was definitely the biggest flop of the whole game. He couldn't handle pressure, no accuracy for the most part, and was losing his cool on the sidelines with some players. Now, the thing about this is he's a kid. 18 years old. So there's a lot of expectations on him. But the thing about the NIL world, you're getting paid a whole lot of money. I believe Michigan paid him like $10 million to leave LSU and come there. So if you're getting paid that much money, you got to perform. That's why you're getting paid that money. So I think that was a bit of a letdown for them. I know after week one, they were all hyping him up, but I think it's going to be a very, very up and down season. I'm not saying that I don't think he can't eventually become like a dude, but right now he's definitely not someone that gets me too excited. But Matt, you want to talk about Mateer a little bit?
So I do, because I see other evaluators talk about who Mateer is, and I hear what they are saying and I see what they are showing me. But John Mateer is a roller coaster. And if you want to enjoy those thrills, you have to be willing to endure those lulls. But the thing that he's shown me 2 weeks in a row now, yes, he's going to do things that drive you nuts. And if you are a quarterback mechanics maniac, you don't bother watching. That is not who he is. So you have to accept him for who he is and what he does. But I just kind of want to narrate a sequence of events. So I'm watching this game live. And there's one play, he drops back, he throws it, and he tries to throw a laser beam. And it hits the hands of the corner, bounces off his hands, but it's going so fast it like floats in the air and lands in the guy's arms again. And the wide receiver actually makes a great defensive play and knocks it down. And then the next play, he drops back and dead to rights, should have been murdered. Rolls out of the pocket and just flicks his wrist. Just one of these deals, which again, mechanics, that's not like, if you're looking for mechanics, you can stop listening for like the next 30 seconds. But if you're not as married to that, bear with me, because that ball went on a rope right down the sideline. And I pull up my phone and I'm texting John Mateer, first round, that throw alone. And then Ryan, I hit send and my text bubble comes up. Hey, if I don't get Nussmeier, I'm taking Mateer. And I'm like, stop reading my mind. I want to yell at you. So all the things that I'm hearing people say about Mateer, I heard, ugly mechanics, really kind of risky with the ball, willy-nilly. I've heard people talk about a certain quarterback that way before. And if you go to a guy who's like, nope, I get it, but I'm gonna ride this wave, and I'm gonna surround with talent, and yeah, he's gonna make throws that I don't like, and I'm never going to try to teach him how to throw a football, because there's nothing wrong with where the ball goes. His accuracy is there, and if he had bouts of inaccuracy, then I'd be like, okay, I get it. He got to clean up his mechanics. But for my money, he's already a first round guy. But you don't draft him unless you already know, like, I'm in for a ride, and I'm kind of into it. And I don't know if I take him above, certainly not a Nuss. I still have hope for Klubnik. And Fernando Mendoza's growing on me even more. And I was high on him in summer. But if my consolation prize is Jean Mateer, I'm not sad.
All right. Well, awesome. I think, like I said, we're going to hop down into the games that Matt looked at, and then we'll just kind of rapid fire some of our other guys that caught our attention.
Yep. I'm also going to kind of rapid fire. So let's start out with Ohio State, Texas. Everyone else has had their shots at Manning. He did not have his best game, and I don't think the media did him any favors, proclaiming him all these things in sliced bread, and then a redshirt sophomore steps on the field for his third start against possibly the best team in college football, possibly the best defense in college football. I do believe there is an argument. More on that in a minute, but I don't. What I saw were two elite defenses. Um, but Jack Endry's impressed. 4 receptions, 50 yards, number 2 ranked player for his team, 78.9 run block grade, which is really, really cool. Liona Leifu was all over the place. 9 tackles, 3 solos, 1 for loss. And he was the number 4 ranked defensive player for the team. He only had 1 missed tackle. Is it pronounced Taffy, Ryan?
Toffee? I'm not really sure.
Dude, that safety is a grown man. He was above 65 in every category. Carnell Tate showed why I thought he was the number 2 guy on my board, and he hasn't done anything to disabuse me of that. Jermaine Matthews was locked down in that game. He was the number 1 ranked defender and had an 84.6 coverage grade. And Tyrone Malone Jr. deserves some credit for his work on the inside. Ryan, did you have any notes on that game you wanted to shout out?
No, I think you hit everything. I think week 2, Cade McDonald for Ohio State was real big. The D tackle that I really liked. But yeah, you hit everything for that one.
Listen, Caleb Downs is awesome. I got him number 5 on my watch board, but that doesn't mean he's number 5 on my board. You remember, we're data driven, film confirmed, not like data driven and we never watch tape. That's not like how we work. But Caleb Downs is doing all the things I want a great safety to do. So just, yeah, we get it. He's awesome. But there are enough people talking about him. Bama versus Florida State. Jermaine Bernard did his job. This is a guy who I don't think Ryan, over under 2 receivers going round 1.
Ugh. I feel like just because of the league we're in, I'm gonna have to take the over, but I wouldn't currently take that many.
So, and that doesn't mean there aren't guys I love. But like Justin Jefferson is a first-round wide receiver, in my opinion. Jamar Chase is a first-round wide receiver, in my opinion. I had a first-round grade on Marvin Harrison Jr., and I have not seen anything that validates that opinion. He's young, but like Jefferson and Chase, they didn't need anything but to get on a field. Those are first-round receivers, but I'm very cruel to first-round receivers. But Jermaine Bernard is a starting wide receiver in the NFL. Keon Sabb was versatile, 6 tackles, 3 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack. So nice to look at. On FSU, Earl Little Jr. led in tackles, 9 total, 4 solo, 1 for loss. And I want to talk about this quarterback for a minute. I was actually watching another podcast. I don't want to try to I don't know what you call it, but I was watching a broadcast live, and in the chat, there were people advocating for this quarterback, Castellano. Is that how it's pronounced?
I believe so.
He might win a Heisman. He might be the best college football quarterback, but I don't draft quarterbacks if your height starts with a 5.
Yeah.
And Bryce Young is not doing him any favors, and I don't think Kyler Murray is doing him any favors. And even people are like, well, Tua is not that big. Tua is not doing you any favors. I kind of suck in a deep breath if you're asking me to draft a 6-foot quarterback. I can't ride with that height. But that doesn't mean he wasn't a superstar in these 2 games. It doesn't mean he's not going to do amazing things in college. But there's a big difference between great college quarterback and NFL quarterback. And I look, if you're Ryan, where are you at with this? I got him at 5'10".
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I know he's it's still a little early for him, but yeah, I am always going to lean towards the side of metrics in terms of quarterback height. And any quarterback that's under the 6 foot mark, and I'm talking like 6 foot outside of shoes, I'm a little worried.
So I just kind of want to check a thing right quick. I was looking right at it and then I went away from it. Bear with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I got Mateer 6'1". That might be Oklahoma 6'1" though.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on to Clemson LSU. I think that was this. I think Oklahoma Michigan might be game of the year material.
Okay.
That was fun to watch. LSU Clemson is a contender. Avion Terrell had a decent day in that game, made the first big play. I'm going to skip one. Weeks I wrote might be limited, but he's steady and reliable. Ryan isn't necessarily higher on him than I am, but I don't think he's a day one guy, but he's definitely a guy I want on the field. Nuss in my current quarterback ranking, which flexes every week and it might flex dramatically. I think Ryan and I both have Nuss number 1. Is that true?
I think so. Yeah.
So we're hoping we win the race to Nuss, and we're looking at other guys to kind of fill out our top 3. But Nuss is currently the apple of our eyes, with a lot of football to play. Now I can gush on my man crush, Harold Perkins Jr. Dude, he is a first round guy. Let me put my data where my mouth is. All right. He has, just for those of you, a 77.6 run defense grade, a 72.3 tackle grade. His coverage grade is in the 70s. I don't have it written down, but I know it's above that. He currently has, so the big knock on him was missed tackles. He has one in like 50 snaps. He is possibly the best athlete on the field when he's on the field. I will be very happy if he slides. But I'm probably gonna. I feel for Perkins the way Ryan and I felt for Harold Fenton Jr. last cycle. Young season, things could happen, but I really think highly of Perkins in that game. Ryan, you got anyone you want to talk about?
Yeah, I will say back to Harold Fan Jr., who now owns the record for, or at least tied for the record for receptions for a rookie tight end with 7. Perkins is definitely one of those guys. I feel like he is going to drop. I feel like he's a first round talent that's going to go into first round, early second round. So similar, like Jahad Campbell with some injury issues went towards the end of. I think he was the last pick of round 1. So same type of thing, right? A guy that everybody knows is worth a higher pick, but then he slides because the linebacker position is normally devalued. And where do you play him? Because teams don't necessarily know where he can fit in. But yeah, he absolutely is a star. And he talked a little bit about Weeks. Yeah, I'm not necessarily. I don't think Weeks is going to be a day one guy. He's not a first rounder. But like my sweet spot for linebackers honestly feels like round 3, because as a Bengals fan, that we've had a lot of success with those round 3 guys with like Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson. And I feel like that's kind of where Weeks fits in. He's going to go sometime on day 2, and he might not ever be like an absolute star or anything like that. But he is going to be a very strong starter in the league, probably for quite a while.
Did a study, looked at every team starting linebacker, 19 off-ball linebackers drafted in the 3rd round. That is the most in any round. First round had 14, and round 5 had 9. So round 3 is indeed a sweet spot for linebackers.
Yeah.
That is quantifiable. SMU Baylor, I literally just watched that game, the highlights of that game again before we came on the air. Look, I got to be honest, these other 2 games, Sawyer Robinson is entering a lot of conversations. I see what people are seeing, but and Ryan, you can chime in here. I feel like I'm anti-Robertson because I've never been on Robertson, and I'm forcing him to work harder to earn my affection because I didn't see him in summer scouting. Do I need to chuck my pride aside, or are you a believer?
I would think you do. Where I think Robertson, I feel like needs to work on a little bit of the decision making, a little bit of the mechanics. I feel like his footwork's a little off at times, which makes him struggle on some of the actual like shorter throws. He's better in the middle of the field and deeper than he is on some of those short throws. But he, he's a prototypical size guy that the NFL is going to love. Question is when does he come out? I doubt it's this year, but it could be this year. And he feels like a guy that some team is going to fall in love with. He's going to shoot up boards if he keeps putting up numbers like this. And improves his decision making on the field, I think he's going to move up a lot.
Playing a Big 12 schedule is not going to hurt him.
Yeah.
And then Iowa State, Iowa. I have Becht and Robertson kind of in that same conversation, though I'm higher on Becht. I got to be honest, Becht doesn't ever, how do I phrase it? It's not always good to watch. It's not always pretty. But when the game's on the line and I need a drive and I need to win, I think I want Becht. I mean, who do you want aside from Becht? You got to win a game. You got 3 minutes. Who you taking?
Yeah, I'm not sure right now. Becht does he just seems like that type of guy that always comes in clutch when you need it.
So
definitely don't want Mark Gronowski, which was one of my preseason guys, which you'll see more about him in my weekly updates. So.
I because we're not really doing the disappointed thing. I remember when you mentioned Gronowski. And you and I said the same thing. Are they going to actually let him throw it? I don't think Gronowski is having a Gronowski problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know. But I think that covers the games where I was supposed to talk about who flashed.
I think you actually skipped Notre Dame, Miami.
Oh, did I? I did.
Yeah.
So Love was underutilized and I couldn't understand why. And then they gave him the ball and he was awesome. Now look, running the ball against, and more on that in a minute, running the ball against Miami isn't going to be easy, but then he had 4 receptions for 26 yards. CJ Daniels was a beast, 5 receptions for 46 yards, including an amazing one-handed TD catch that should have been a pick.
Yeah.
Look, I will say Becht is playing better. Becht is going to garner interest. I don't know if I ride that roller coaster because I'll ride a roller coaster game. He had like a roller coaster season, and I don't know that I can do that. Yeah. But CJ Daniels definitely makes Becht look better. And then we have you got to give Francis Muyaga a shout out. He helped in a critical first down conversion in the last drive of the game and seemed to hold up well. He is definitely on my list of performers. And then obviously, I wish I could remember his name. Ryan will remember because he's one of the people we interact with the most. Draft Professor. I think he had Ruben Bain as his number 1 prospect overall. That guy's a star. He has dominated every game he's played in. And my question is for you, Ryan, Is Ruben Baines so good he made Notre Dame tackles look bad, or the Notre Dame tackles a problem?
I lean towards Bain is that good.
Okay.
Because I mean, when Myles Garrett plays anyone in the league, they look very, very bad. I'm not saying he's Myles Garrett level, but yeah, Bain is just an animal.
So I want to throw two contingents. I want to throw two things at you. Okay. So first, that line struggles against A&M this week. Are you still defending those tackles?
Possibly, but there's another guy on A&M that I absolutely love. So with Cassius Howe, so I'm not necessarily gonna jump off the bandwagon right away, but yeah, they're facing a gauntlet of pass rushers.
And then second contingency, Nussmeier's off the board. You're picking next, and you got Ruben Baines staring at you. And I know you got Ezraku and your guy for the Giants.
Yeah, Abdul Carter.
I do, but you're staring Ruben Bain in the face and Nuss is off the board. Are you tempted?
It would be a consideration. It would really depend on how the rest of the quarterback class falls out. Because I could have Ruben Bain as number 1 overall, but if I have a quarterback at number like 15 overall and he's a lock to go first round, I'm probably going to take the quarterback just because we got to find a quarterback in the shadow team world.
Yeah, we definitely do. So now I think I'm good.
All right. So I'm just gonna rapid fire some disappointments. If you want to talk about some as well. For the Bearcats versus Nebraska game, Joe Royer made me angry. He was not great in blocking. Added nothing as a wide receiver, and it's possible that it was just because Sorsby was so poor as a passer that game. He did bounce back in week 2, but that's really there. Dylan Raiola was also kind of a letdown in my opinion. I know some people were high on him, but I put here that he focused more on Mahomes cosplay than making good decisions. I don't know. I think he's got talent. I don't know if he's going to ever necessarily get there, but we'll see. Auburn Baylor, that first game, the QB play in general was rough. Like I said, Arnold has the legs, but neither QB was that great in the pass game for that week. Seemed to be everybody was pressing, had maybe some nervous mechanics because it was first week of the season. It wasn't the best debut for Xavier Shoplin, who's the guy that transferred over from Virginia Tech. He wasn't strong in the run, allowed some pressures. Also, Matthew Fobbs White. He is a guy that I had on my list as a guy that I wanted to look at. He came in from Tulane. He produced a ton at Tulane, and he did absolutely nothing. And he had no pass rush juice, and he was a liability against the run. Colorado, their O-line, still just rough. And those are really the only main things that I haven't mentioned yet from mine. Some of the other players, some quarterbacks, some like underrated quarterbacks, Owen McCown, Malachi Nelson, Jacob Clark, they all were a letdown to start the season. Rayshon Benny, the defensive tackle from Michigan, hasn't really done much. Lawson Lucky, tight end from Georgia, has been underwhelming. I put all of Alabama. Their team was just, week 2 looked better, but man, it was a rough start. And then same thing, week 1 was a little bit of a letdown for Elijah Sherratt, the wide receiver from Indiana, but he looked better in week 2.
I agree on that.
Yeah, what you got, Matt?
Ditto Benny. I came in the summer really thinking he was the second best interior lineman. Yeah. I already talked about Manning. You mentioned all of Alabama. I spent the summer asking people, what are you seeing in Proctor that I'm not? And And I don't want to, how do I phrase this? Look, he got frozen a lot.
Yeah.
There were a lot of downs where his feet got planted and guys blew right by him. I still haven't seen anything out of Proctor. Not yet. It's a young season. Maybe he'll turn it around. But I am one who will tell anyone listening that my O-line game is in need of work. But I think sometimes it's easy to see, like Maui Goa, and I'm a huge fan of the Gators kid. What's his name? Parker? Not Parker. Hold on.
Slaughter.
Well, I love Slaughter, but that's what I'm talking
Austin
about.
Barber.
Huh?
Barber.
Yeah. I you watch them and they just look different. And there were people trying to say that about Proctor and not so. One evaluator, famous evaluator, went so far as like he's a guard. And I'm like, see, I hate that cop out. Maybe he is, but like that to me is not what you want people saying. I was high on Florida State's Jerry Wilson coming in, and he hasn't taken the step that I wanted him to take. I talked about the tackles already. Ryan, you and I really wanted to support those safeties at SMU, but it's not happening.
Yep.
And Jennings Dunker is not Jennings Dunker. He's doing fine. The quarterback for Iowa.
Yeah. For Iowa,
yeah.
Mark Gronowski. Yeah.
Gronowski. I don't put Gronowski's lack of production on Gronowski. It's real hard to perform when no one's open and you're throwing 15 times a game. I don't know what you expect out of it.
Yeah.
And then I got to kind of call out all of Clemson. I'm sorry. I came in genuinely believing they were going to undefeated and win a natty. And then they lose to LSU. I'm like, well, that's a good team. Those are high quality guys. And then they come out and lay that egg. Peter Woods was supposed to be defending his right as a number 1 overall guy. TJ Parker was supposed to be like that dude. So Cade Klubnik was supposed to be that dude. And while the jury's still out, it's young. They need to wake up, and they need to wake up now. Because if they don't take care of business against a very live Georgia Tech this week, then they're done. They're out. They're gone. Yeah. And that would be a tragically disappointing season. Do you agree with that assertion?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they've been overall let down so far. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if they bounce back. I had mentioned it in my video about Klubnik, is that he looks like he's beginning of 2024 Klubnik again, and needs to get back to end of 2024 Klubnik.
Do you think Klubnik is playing like a guy who's trying not to lose his status as the number 1 overall quarterback?
Yeah, I'm not sure necessarily that it's that, or if it's just that, it's early season and he's pressing, like there's that nerves, that pressure of being the guy. It's hard to really know without knowing the kid, but yeah, there's definitely something going on, because it hasn't looked as I expected it to. So a couple little injuries. Jackie Marshall, defensive tackle from Baylor, went out in the first game. I haven't really checked in on that injury, but Jaheim White, a running back from West Virginia, who I actually was a fan of, is gone for the season now.
Oh, that's tragic.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. I haven't been tracking a ton of other ones. So for the sake of time, I'm going to rapid fire a few guys that I think everybody should keep an eye out for.
I'll shout out ditto for anyone I agree. I have to.
Dante Moore, quarterback from Oregon. Byron Brown, the quarterback from USF, had some really good games. There's the Ohio State tight ends are pretty good. Max Clare, Jelani Thurman,
Ditto on Claire.
Will Kaczmarek. There's a bunch of guys in there that are looking really good. Darian Mensah, quarterback from Duke, has been fun to watch.
Ditto.
The
Although last week was disappointing.
Yeah, it was definitely not as great. Let's see who's some other guys. Joey Aguilar, the quarterback from Tennessee that came from App State, is looking really solid. Diego Pavia is just fun to watch, man. He's he's not going to be a star in the league probably from a quarterback position, but a good OC could use him. Another quarterback, CJ Bailey, NC State. He's a guy that I think we're going to have to keep an eye out for 2027, maybe even 2028 for him. Let's see here, some other ones. Oh, yeah, the Texas Tech defense.
Yeah, that whole line.
Texas Tech defense, they've got Sky Gaylor Howard, Romello Height, David Bailey. They've got all these guys on there that are just so much fun to watch.
That whole line.
Yeah, really, really good. And then on the other side of the ball for them, Baron Morton and Terrence Carter, Terrence Carter's a tight end. They're having a great season so far. So a little underrated there. Got to shout out my smaller schools. Emmanuel McNeil Warren and Anthony Dunn Jr. from Toledo are looking really strong, especially Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Gabe Yakus is still looking really solid. And then let's see. The tight ends that Rocco Becht is working with, Benjamin Brahmer is really solid. And then let's see. I think that's really about it. There's a few other guys in there. Devin Dampier, the quarterback from Utah, has looked pretty solid. Any other guys that you that I didn't mention that you were keeping an eye on?
So I wanna double down on Bud Clark. You on your list here, you mentioned Bo Prabula, the the Missouri guy. I'm watching you. Ditto David Bailey. We already hyped up that individual. You kind of stole Gil Howard. Uyunglele is someone who is he looks good coming off the bus and he's performing well.
Yep.
Let me see. Sometimes I look at a guy, and just to throw in a little bit of a thing, I watched Akis. It's pronounced Akis, believe it or not. I watched him, and it was nothing, and then he had the strip sack that broke the game open.
Yeah.
I don't think Akis is a dominant guy, but I do think he's the kind of guy who's gonna make a play, and that play is going to alter the complexion of a game. And that's I just wanted to elaborate.
Okay. So one last thing before we get into the games that are coming up and what we're going to be what you can expect from us next. We both haven't really been talking about the guys that we highlighted this summer because we're doing separate videos for that. But I'm going to give one guy of mine that has just blown me away, and I'll let you do the same thing for yours, which I have a feeling I know what yours would be. But for me, Clev Lubin. If you haven't watched Clev Lubin, I don't know what you're doing. The fact that he came from like JUCO all the way to Coastal Carolina and now to Louisville, and the question is like, is he gonna do well against the better competition? And all he's done is had 2 sacks each game. been an absolute menace, just destroying everyone. He's winning pass rushes all over the place. Had I believe it was a strip that ended up being a touchdown um, in the last game. And the first game, one of my questions with him was he going to be able to stay on the field, get all the snaps? And the first game he had like 30 snaps, and this last game he had nearly 60. Um, if he goes with this trajectory, in my opinion, he is a first round talent. And selfishly, I hope the league does not catch up to that, because then I could get him round 2 or something like that. But man, he looks really, really good this year.
So I already gushed plenty on Harold Perkins. And so I'm gonna take this opportunity. Fernando Mendoza has not played anyone worth writing home about yet. But all the things I expected Klubnik to do against lesser talent, Mendoza has done. And if you're asking me for like, okay, who am I targeting in the draft right now? Sam Levitt really kind of broke my heart. The jury's still out on him. It is. That was a really tough game, but one bad game doesn't define anybody.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me for my week 2 top 3, like, hey, the draft tomorrow, who you're taking, I probably go Nussmeier. And honestly, I like roller coasters, but not that much. So I'd probably go Nussmeier, Mendoza, Mateer, where there's a big battle for that area. But just to kind of to dive in on this, we mentioned a thing, and I want to see if you've had time to think about it. Aller and Nussmeier are warm, safe blankets.
Yeah.
But Mateer and Mendoza and Sellers are special. And it's going to be hard for me to pass up special. And please don't hear, I'm not, look, I am, Joe Burrow is not a special athlete, but he is arguably the best quarterback in the draft, the best quarterback in the league. So don't underestimate. There's a reason why it, like, Nuss is easy for me to take overall. So don't take that further than I want it to go. But that's kind of my read. You got some nice safe guys, and then you got some guys you're like, yeah, but if they hit, are you in that same ballpark? Do you have a different top 3? Do you have a top 3 right now, or are you still only sold on 2?
Yeah, I don't really have a top 3 right now. I'm really just focusing on the couple that I would feel comfortable with. Again, with our Browns rule for our shadow draft, we have to have at least 3 that we like. And so for those of you that didn't watch our shadow draft thing, we have a rule that if the quarterback we draft gets drafted by the Browns, we reserve the right to switch him out with our next choice, if that choice wasn't already taken, because we don't want to have a quarterback automatically tank. But yeah, I'm hoping to see more from quarterbacks going forward. It's what I'm really hoping for.
Last thing I want to throw you away. I know we're in the hour range, but there's one more thing I kind of want to throw at you. What are your current feelings on this class? Like, not just quarterbacks, but this class as a whole.
Yeah, it's a bit all over the place for me. Like, it's another one of those that feels like there's just a handful of stars, and then a whole bunch of guys that, like, from the wide receiver class, I don't feel like there's any wide receiver 1s really. They're mostly a bunch of wide receiver 2s. The cornerback class, if you want a nickel, they're great. But if you want an outside guy that's going to be locked down, good luck. The tight end class, not looking super stellar at this point. other than the one out of Oregon. Um, the quarterback class, again, the guys that we thought were going to be great are not doing too much. Offensive line, I'm not sold on a ton of the top end tackles. So, um, there's always some edge players that that look great, but um, it's a little lackluster for me so far. I feel like there's definitely some talent, um, but I don't think that there's any surefire things. I don't like if you haven't watched. I did a video on um, the consensus big boards and how that relates to where players are drafted. And for the most part, the consensus big boards for the first 3 rounds are pretty close. The first round, if they're a consensus first rounder on consensus boards, they're probably going within a few picks of that of where they're ranked on that board. Um, but I have a feeling this is going to be one of those years that it might not be as strong because I don't know that the consensus is going to be uh, in line with each other with all with the different types of players. There's not a ton of stars.
I did. You reminded me. Makai Lemon is chiseled into stone as my wide receiver 1. I am sold. Now he's a slot guy, and I I'm pretty comfortable he'll be there at 38, 40. I'm afraid he won't be because of what he's doing, but Makai Lemon, I came into it going like, okay, I think he might be a number 1, and 2 weeks into the season, he's like, no, I am number 1. I am the best wide receiver in this class. Again, there's some sophomores who are good. I'm not an idiot. But if I there are targets. There are targets to Ryan's point. The is this really that top batch? And I'm kind of a to be determined kind of guy right now on that, but I want to live in a planet where I come out with a quarterback, Lemon and Perkins, and a tackle, and the Barber is there. If I can manifest that world, and Ryan doesn't steal one of them, and he won't because well, actually no, he might because he needs wide receivers. So we'll see kind of how that goes. But I'm in for it. But right now, what I'm looking at is, last year I was like, well, if I don't get this guy, I'll take that guy. And if I don't get that guy, I take this guy. If I don't get Lemon, if I don't get Barber, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Now I'm glad it's September, but right now that I don't have a lot of guys I'm sold yet, but it is just September.
Yeah. So all right, so we're gonna wrap it up now. Our next college football episode will be on October 7th. So that's an entire month for pretty much from now. And so there's going to be a lot of games and players to talk about. So we might not have the same format where we go game by game for the week because that would take forever. So we might end up just like summarizing the top performers and maybe the people that have disappointed over the month that we're gone. So we'll see. But some of the games that we're going to be seeing, there's I'm a little less excited about Colorado, Houston, and South Carolina versus Vandy now, but Clemson, Georgia Tech coming up. Oregon versus Northwestern's an interesting one. I think that's one of Oregon's first tests. Georgia versus Tennessee is going to be fun. Notre Dame, Texas A&M, LSU, Florida, and that's next week. Then the week of September 15th to 21. Iowa, Rutgers, I had that down because my guy, Mark Gronowski, and your guy, Eric O'Neill, some interesting players. Miami versus Florida, Arizona State versus Baylor, Illinois versus Indiana, SMU versus TCU, Texas Tech versus Utah, and Michigan State versus USC. Michigan State versus USC. The reason I put that one on there is because there's two young quarterbacks that people are talking about, Aiden Childs and Mayava. So that'll be a good one to watch.
Miami's draft eligible, right?
I believe so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he is.
And then the following week, September 22nd to the 28th, is Arizona State TCU, LSU versus Ole Miss, Texas A&M versus Auburn, Oregon versus Penn State, which will definitely be one I'm locked in on. We haven't talked about Drew Aller really at all. And then Bama versus Georgia. And then the last set of games before we get back on here will be Texas versus Florida, Penn State versus UCLA, Bama versus Vandy, and then Notre Dame versus Boise State. So that's a lot of stuff. Like I said, we're probably going to do a little bit different format to try to make sure that we're able to get through all of the players that we want without spending so much time on each game. Matt, what of the games are you kind of like most excited for, looking to watch?
So, LSU, Florida. Will the real Florida please stand up? Because I don't know what college football does if Florida just comes back and bounces LSU.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. And then to me, the two games I want to punch in on, Illinois, Indiana, I can't wait for. I am so into that. That's not to say that there aren't other games, but I would say Illinois, Indiana is the game I'm most excited to see in this slate, and that's saying something, because that's a Big Ten contest that's going to decide the college playoff picture, and that will be the first game where one of those top quarterbacks can really do anything. And then the reason no one's talking about Drew Aller is because Drew Aller hasn't played anyone yet. Honestly, he's the only quarterback I know. Well, no, Klubnik. You can't struggle in the warm up games. You can't.
Yeah.
And while he wasn't terrible, again, why I'm high on Mendoza is he's dominating the guys he's supposed to dominate. But the Oregon Penn State, I'm here for it. Because true or false, the winner of Oregon Penn State plays Ohio State for the Big Ten title.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Okay, so those are the ones I'm really hyper fixated on.
Yeah, that Oregon Penn State is the one I'm most excited for sure. And I think I'm starting to get more interested in Texas Tech versus Utah as well. I think that'll be a very fun one to watch. So our next show is actually in 2 weeks. There'll be some videos, and we hopefully have our first player interview coming up. Once we get that time locked in with that player, we'll release more information about that. But our next show will be September 23rd, around the same time, 9:30 p.m. And we're going to be talking about our shadow teams and where we stand. So we'll either be talking about how awesome our team is, or having an existential crisis about our abilities as as GMs. So we will see. But anything before we roll out, Matt?
One more thing. I want to do this as part of the college football thing. I've been beating this drum. I believe I started the season going, I kind of think this is going to happen. And week 1 happened. I'm like, I'm kind of thinking this is going to happen. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it, do you feel? 1 being like, nah, 10 being like, yeah. How likely is it? Because here's the affirmation. The SEC championship game will be played between 2 teams with 3 losses. And that's not a knock on the SEC. That's a compliment to the SEC and the beautiful football we've seen between conferences.
I think I could definitely see one. I'm having a hard time with LSU having that many. But you think about it, Texas, Alabama, Florida, all have losses. already. So I think there's a good chance at least one of them's going to, and the other one might have two.
So are you a 1 right now?
Probably, yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna track this
yeah.
because I kind of threw it up there in the back of my mind, and I remember I came in and talked to you about it, and when I threw it up originally, I'm like, yeah, it's never gonna happen, but it could,
It's
and now I'm
possible.
like, I'm kind of at a 4 right now. I'm kind of at a 4, and I just want this documented because what became a little kind of a haha, wouldn't it be funny if it's kind of like,
It's there. So, all right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll be back on September 23rd.